Hi Erin, Sally from the Department of Health. I spoke with you this morning. I've left a message for you to call me, but thought it might be helpful if I let you know the sort of information I want to discuss. I need to know what drinks were served at the lunch. I also need to know what type of shallots you purchased, and if you could please give me a basic description of the packaging of the mushrooms from the Asian grocer, that would be good. Approximate weight and size of the packaging, was it partially see-through or not? And if you think of the names of the roads you were parking on or near when you went to the different grocery stores, then I can get the officers out looking around those areas. Even a landmark you might have remembered at the time would be helpful.
Hi, Sally. Sure, I will try to get that information all to you as soon as possible. I'm just dealing with trying to manage and look after the kids in hospital here, and a bit snowed under trying to manage that. I'll get this info to you as soon as I can, but I've just been in a couple of meetings with people at the hospital when you've been trying to call.
In the early days after the mushroom lunch, Sally Ann Atkinson messaged Erin Patterson searching for information. She was desperate to make sure poisonous ingredients hadn't found their way into grocery stores across Victoria. Desperate to make sure there was no risk to the community. She described her search and what Erin told her today in court. I'm Brooke Grebert-Craig, and this is The Mushroom Cook. It's week 5, day 19 of Erin Patterson's murder trial, and once again I'm here in our makeshift podcast studio with my colleague, court reporter Laura Placella. Hi Laura.
Hey Brooke, I cannot believe we are in week 5.
I know, it's crazy. Time flies when you're having fun.
And I will say it seems like our podcast studio is back to normal. Thank God.
We had quite a number of witnesses in court today, 4 to be exact. We also had a man briefly interrupt the proceedings, but we'll talk more on that later. Let's start with our first witness, Sally Ann Atkinson. She is a senior public health advisor at the Department of Health. She took the stand today and spoke about several phone calls and text message exchanges she had with Erin from August 1, 2023. So this is 3 days after the lunch on July 29.
Yes, that's right. Miss Atkinson told the jury today that she received a disease notification relating to suspected death cap mushroom poisoning, and she spoke with a toxicologist from Austin Health who filled her in on some of the details around the lunch. Miss Atkinson told the court that she then spoke to Erin to gather some more details. She spoke first about the symptoms Erin was experiencing, considering on August 1, Erin was herself at Monash Medical Centre. She said that Erin told her she had been experiencing explosive diarrhoea the night of the lunch, so that being July 29, and then every 45 minutes she was experiencing the same on July 30. She said she started to feel better that night, but the next morning on July 31, when she had a bowl of cereal, she began to feel worse, and that was the morning she went to Leongatha Hospital.
Miss Atkinson also said that Erin told her about how she served the beef Wellington.
Yes, Miss Atkinson said she did ask Erin some questions about the lunch. Erin confirmed she made a beef Wellington that was served with mashed potatoes and beans, and she told her all the beef Wellingtons were plated individually, and everyone around that table had the same food. The jury have heard previously that Erin used a best-selling Recipe Tin Eats cookbook to make the beef Wellington, and she told Miss Atkinson that she had never made the meal before and she wanted to do something fancy for her guests. Miss Atkinson was really trying to gather as much information as she could, so she also asked Erin about the mushrooms she used in the beef Wellington meal. Erin told her some of the mushrooms she used were purchased from a Woolworths in Leongatha, and said she also used dried mushrooms that she purchased from an Asian grocer months earlier in April. She explained to Miss Atkinson that she no longer had the packaging for the dried mushrooms, but she remembers it being a small see-through bag with a white label, noting that it didn't look very professional. And she told Miss Atkinson that she bought the dried mushrooms in the first place because she wanted to use them for a pasta dish. She noted that they smelled funny when she opened the packaging, but Miss Atkinson told the court that Erin indicated to her that she could have still used some of them in the meal.
Miss Atkinson then told the jury she attended a group meeting with the Deputy Chief Health Officers, members of the Food Safety Unit and the department's media team. During this meeting, they established that they needed to start an investigation.
It's been a while since I've heard the words Chief Health Officer. Definitely felt like a throwback to COVID. But Miss Atkinson was explaining that there was quite a lot of urgency around getting answers and trying to figure out, like you said at the top of the episode, Brooke, whether there were any products being sold across Victoria that would put members of the public at risk. She came out of that meeting and tried to call Erin, but she didn't pick up. So she sent a text instead, and that was the exchange you heard at the top of the episode. Since Erin had told Miss Atkinson she was quite snowed under, she told the court that she did not hear back from her until the next day.
So then what happened on August 2?
Miss Atkinson said she sent Erin another text message, and this was in the morning around 9:30, and she was asking Erin to confirm a number of things. These included whether she had only cooked with the dried mushrooms once, whether any drinks were served at the lunch, whether she used a credit card to purchase the dried mushrooms, and she even asked her to confirm what shallots she had used in the meal. Miss Atkinson told the court that she didn't receive a reply from Erin, but later that day she received a phone call from Katrina Cripps from Child Protection. Our listeners may remember Miss Cripps. She gave evidence earlier in this trial, and she was actually at Erin's house on August 2 to conduct a visit, and she handed Erin a phone so she could talk to Miss Atkinson directly.
So did Erin actually answer any of Miss Atkinson's questions?
She did. So over the phone, Miss Atkinson said that Erin confirmed the guests had drunk tea and coffee as well as water at the lunch. She also confirmed that she did not locate a credit card purchase that related to an Asian grocer, and told Miss Atkinson that it was likely she may have bought the dried mushrooms with cash. And then she also spoke about the previous use of these dried mushrooms. She told Miss Atkinson over the phone that they had never been used in another meal, saying that they smelled funny when she first opened them, so decided not to use them and just put them in a container. Crown Prosecutor Jane Warren asked whether this statement was consistent with what Erin had previously told Miss Atkinson, and she said that it was not, that it was different. She said that the initial conversation she had with Erin seemed to indicate that some of the dried mushrooms were used in this pasta dish, but then by the next day she was saying that they hadn't been used. Miss Atkinson told the court that Erin was not being very clear.
After this phone call, there was another text message exchange. Miss Atkinson told the jury that Erin originally said she bought all the ingredients except the dried mushrooms on the Friday, but later she said she bought them over several days. These are their words, but not their voices.
Hi, Erin. Sorry, counsel have just asked what time of day did you buy the ingredients on Friday? Counsel are looking at when the supermarket receives delivered and storage, etc. Time of shopping would help with their investigation. Thank you.
Hi, Sally. I'm not sure exactly what time of day. I went a few times last week, and I know I got some of the ingredients on maybe Wednesday or Thursday. I know I bought some discounted eye fillet steaks one time on one of those 2 days. And then I went back on either Thursday or Friday and bought a couple more, but they weren't discounted, just normal price. And I bought the rest of the ingredients at one of those shopping trips. I often go daily or every second day to pick up a bag or two and get what I need as I go, so it's hard to pinpoint an exact day I bought this or that. But I know I bought all of it at some stage last week on Wednesday, Thursday or Friday.
The next day, on August 3, there was another phone call. This time, Miss Atkinson was really focusing on the meal and asked Erin how she prepared the beef Wellington. She said Erin told her that she used button mushrooms and the dried mushrooms to make the mushroom paste that would coat the eye fillet steaks. She described how Erin rehydrated the dried mushrooms before chopping them by hand. Miss Atkinson said Erin told her she then fried garlic and shallots in oil before adding all of the mushrooms until it cooked down into that paste. Miss Atkinson told the jury that she asked Erin how many batches of this mushroom paste she made, and the court heard that Erin said she had only made one batch. Miss Warren asked Miss Atkinson why she asked Erin this question, and she said that 2 batches would explain why some of the lunch guests were sick and some were not. The conversation then turned back to the dried mushrooms, and this time when she was asking her about the Asian grocer, Erin mentioned that the grocer could have been located in Glen Waverley. Miss Atkinson told the court that Erin had never mentioned Glen Waverley to her before. Our listeners may remember that over the days in early August, Monash City Council were conducting an investigation, going to more than a dozen Asian grocers across Oakley, Clayton and Mount Waverley to try to find a packet of dried mushrooms that matched Erin's description. Miss Atkinson was part of this process and was texting Erin asking if she recalled whether or not the mushrooms were sliced or whether they were shiitake or porcini mushrooms.
The jury heard there was another text message exchange between the pair on August 4. This was about the leftovers of that lunch.
Good morning, Erin. I was wondering if I could clarify with you, please, what happened to the leftover food from the lunchtime meal when the 5 of you ate together? I know the pastry and mushrooms from the leftovers you scraped off were in the bin, but not sure if that was the same for the other leftovers. Thanks, Sally.
Yes, it all went in the bin.
Thank you for confirming that. I thought that would be the case.
Let's move on to another witness. Dr. Brian Beer, a forensic pathologist at Victorian Institute of Forensic Medicine, gave evidence about the autopsies surrounding Don and Gail Patterson and Heather Wilkinson.
Dr. Beer said that for all three, their causes of death were consistent with amatoxin poisoning, which is toxic mushroom poisoning. And he spoke about the injuries they had sustained, especially around the liver as well as the small and large bowel. He said there was very extensive necrosis, which put in layman's terms mean most of the cells were dead. Dr. Beer was asked in relation to all three whether or not they had any pre-existing health conditions at the time of the lunch. When it came to Heather, it said that she appeared to be in good health. But when he was asked about her sister, Gail, he said that she was diagnosed with encephalitis in 2020, but he made it clear that this illness did not contribute to her death. When it came to Don, Dr. Beer said that the autopsy showed he had a failed transplanted liver, and signs could also be seen of mild hypertensive heart disease, which is caused by high blood pressure. He actually said that there would be many people walking around with mild hypertensive heart disease that wouldn't even know they have it. And he gestured to the courtroom, saying there were probably some people in the public gallery who had it themselves. But just like he did with Gail, he confirmed that this did not contribute to his death. When asked about Don's health generally, Dr. Beer said that there was nothing serious to note besides a slightly large heart and the fact he was overweight.
The jury also heard from Ben Goodwin. He's a forensic officer at Victoria Police who examined the dehydrator with his colleagues. Just to remind our listeners, this is the same dehydrator that Erin dumped at the local tip.
The court heard that the dehydrator was seized by police on August 4, 2 days after it was dumped by Erin on August 2. He told the court he was tasked with taking samples from the dehydrator of possible vegetable matter. It was at this point that photos of the dehydrator were shown to the jury, and you could see the dehydrator had been taken apart for this analysis to occur. The jury could see the separate parts included the vents, the trays, as well as the door and the whole inside of the dehydrator. He said that when they found possible vegetable matter, they picked it up with tweezers and placed it into a specimen jar. In total, 7 samples were taken from the appliance. Just like the leftovers, these samples also went on their own little journey. After they were taken from the dehydrator, they were then transported to the lab of Dr. Dimitri Girastimoulis, who analysed these samples for the toxins present in death cap mushrooms, namely alpha-amanitin and beta-amanitin. The jury has previously heard that from these 7 samples, 4 tested positive for these amatoxins.
While we're on the topic of the dehydrator, Sharman Fox Henry finished his evidence after 4 days in court. He was cross-examined today by Erin's barrister, Colin Mandy, SC.
Yes, that's right. He may not need an introduction anymore because he's been on the stand across so many days. He is the Senior Digital Forensics Officer at Victoria Police, who was tasked with examining devices that were seized from Erin's house. As you said, Brooke, he was cross-examined by Mr. Mandy on a number of points. And one line of questioning related to a Samsung tablet that had been seized. The court was last week shown photos that were extracted from the device, and these included photos of the dehydrator. Mr. Fox Henry said the data that was extracted alongside these photos did not say whether it or any of the other photos had been received by anyone else. And he agreed with Mr. Mandy that the data also didn't say whether the user took the photo themselves or whether they were sent the photo by someone else. Earlier in his cross-examination, Mr. Mandy asked Mr. Fox-Henry about the experience he had when it came to extracting data. He conceded that while he holds a number of qualifications now, he did not hold those qualifications when he examined these devices in August 2023. He told the court his only training in data collection was from his previous experience in the audiovisual unit at Victoria Police. Mr. Mandy asked that when he was tasked with analysing these devices in the cybercrime squad, whether he was really just following instructions from his peers, and Mr. Fox-Henry replied that he was.
That was all the evidence today, but as we said at the top of the episode, there was an unexpected event. The hearing was briefly interrupted by a man who was seated in the public gallery.
Yes, and he was actually seated right next to me. Our listeners may remember that there are 6 seats in the courtroom reserved for journalists, and I was sitting in one of those seats today. And we had just finished the mid-morning break, and Mr. Fox-Henry was about to return to the stand to finish the rest of his evidence. There was a moment of silence before Mr. Mandy commenced his questioning, and all of a sudden the man sitting right next to me leapt to his feet and addressed Justice Christopher Beale directly. He said, "How can you be a judge?" and went on to make a number of allegations where reference was made to concealed crimes.
The man was dressed in a yellow t-shirt with the words, "All we are saying is give truth a chance," in black letters.
But this outburst didn't last long at all. The informant in this matter, who was the detective leading this investigation, his name is Stephen Eppingstall, he made a beeline for the protester and very quickly he was frog-marched out of court.
So it's safe to say there were really no disruptions other than a brief few minutes, right?
Even less. I reckon the whole thing was over in about 30 seconds, and before we knew it, Mr. Fox-Henry was continuing his evidence.
Thanks, Laura. And to stay updated on the case, go to themushroomcook.com.au for more.